Country on the Fox Business Network. Please welcome now to the Imus Morning Program our old friend Frank Luntz. Good morning, Mr. Luntz.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Who is this for you now?
This is Mike Richter, goalie, former goalie from the New York Rangers, and very active in organizing athletes to get involved in their community and help make a difference.
Good morning, Mr. Richter. How are you?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. We had no idea you were coming because if Frank were going to bring in anybody, I would have figured it would have been one of the girls from the escort service, but apparently
Too expensive.
What does that make me?
It makes you rentable by the hour.
Yeah, I am cheap.
Now, that's how I knew, actually, that Spitzer was a Democrat, because no Republican would pay $4,000 for that. They're too cheap.
Out of a bloated budget.
Yeah.
So what's new with you? Why are you and Mike together now?
Because I'm interested in community service, and I respect the idea of people who've done well in other professions and now want to give something back.
No.
Why don't you give him a little...
What are you doing?
Well, actually, I ran into Frank probably about 6 months ago, and the idea for me is...
Where did you run into him?
In California. We had probably, 2 nights together there, and what I'm trying to do is have athletes, with their connection to the environment, get the message out. And right now, I think the environmental message is anything but good. It's all about the environment. It's about the spotted owl, and I think part of the equation that's left out is people. And athletes understand that connection between your health and performance, and certainly there's a huge connection between environment and health. And I think you're aware of that with all the work your wife's doing. So what we're trying to do is say, look, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the soil that we're playing on, this means something to athletes. We're breathing this. We're consuming it. And this matters to everybody. Something like 20 million Americans have asthma. My son has it, and the environmental issues aren't going away; they're getting worse. But as soon as you start talking about spotted owls, people just glaze over.
No, like I'm doing.
Exactly. No. I thought that was your expression of being riveted.
No, I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder, how long ago did he play for the Rangers?
How many pucks did he see in the head?
I thought it's just eat gas. So.
No.
Athletes are great role models.
Yeah, they are.
And they can be good. They can have a positive impact. They can have a negative impact. So here's a guy who wants to do something positive, and I think it's really important for young people to have someone to look up to who's teaching them about behaving in an effective way for the community.
How do you go about doing that?
Well, that's why we came here. We're asking you. We don't have a clue. We just get a message out. No, the idea is to actually get athletes to talk about this, to start a conversation, because right now it's become politicized to a degree, and it's not a political issue. This is just a matter of health, and it's a matter of public safety and quality of life, and athletes have that great health connection. So the idea is use that to disseminate the information, and you can do it in a number of ways, but I think the big thing is just get people understanding. Everybody's got a Twitter, everybody's got Facebook, blogs, everything else. Get the conversation happening. It's the first step.
And what do they need to talk about?
Well,
what are some of the specific things? Like my wife always talks about trying to get people to eat organic.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to get them to change their whole diet, it's impossible. But if you get them to just change one food item, for example, have an organic apple instead of one with the icky stuff on it.
No question about it. I think that's huge. What I don't want to do is preach and say, you must do this. This is how the world has to work. But I do think you need to have that conversation with people so they start to make a connection. Wow, this asthma we have isn't just a given. That's coming from somewhere. What can we do that, improves our life? And I think the athletes have such a quick connection to that health issue that's where I'd like to begin the conversation, not about saying, really the benefits that come from changing the way society works, the jobs, the national security issue, all those things, the quality of life are kind of collateral benefits. So
asthma, as you know, and those breathing disorders are epidemic with kids in this country.
Huge, and you saw it in the Olympics in China. They're trying to have cars drive on every other days. We have a huge issue here, and athletes are at the forefront. I used to work out here in New York, and there'd be those days you say, well, it's going past 90, it's an ozone alert day or whatever that means. Yeah. It's not healthy to go outside and exercise. We just take that as a given, and it's a little bit of an odd thing. So I think the conversation has to be had, and we have to start making that connection because it's not getting better, it's getting worse, and the messaging for whatever we're doing in the environmental community just is not working.
There are a greater percentage of young people with asthma and other breathing disorders,
it's unbelievable,
and adults as well in Harlem than there are in any place in this country.
Yeah.
which is how when we got involved with the Borican Center.
Yeah.
So it was a stunning, startling statistic, all obviously the environment. So
You look
Or
at
maybe it's Charlie Rangel.
could be that too.
You know how
The
they
kids
are.
take one look at him and go,
By the way, Frank, thanks for participating in the conversation.
I thought I'd bring
As
Frank
we
along.
Booked you as a guest.
I
It's
was
nice
falling
for you
asleep.
to actually participate, isn't it? If I could just get the word out.
well, actually, thank you for not forgetting that I'm sitting here. I appreciate that acknowledgement. Back to the Imus show.
So do you go around and talk to schools or?
Yeah, I think all of that. I mean, it's when the environmental movement starts talking about the global issues and all that, they are all global issues, no question. But it does. I mean, you have to talk about the community and how your community can be safer, healthier, and all.
Kids are
that.
more receptive now too.
Kids are
That
more
message.
receptive, but I tell you, I've got 3 young boys, and the first time I started making the connection,
How old are they?
they're 9, 7, and 5. And you open up the cabinet underneath your sink, and you go, there's 14 things under here that'll kill him if
Oh.
he drinks it. Maybe I shouldn't be washing out, the dishes with some of this stuff. I mean, there's an effect. I flush it down the toilet, I push it down my sink, it's going somewhere. I was fishing with my son yesterday. You can't eat the fish. There's mercury in them. It's not a matter of doom and gloom, but you just have to say the reality is there's some health issues out there. It's related to the environment. We can do better. There's ways.
One of the things my wife did a number of years ago, I forget exactly when it was, back in 2000, I think, 2001, she went to, she developed this line of non-toxic cleaning agents, but genuinely non-toxic, like, say, Martha Stewart's line of, but it's not really some of these, they're not really non-toxic.
There's so much greenwashing. There's so much BS in the space.
Right, and then they won't list the ingredients on them, but hers are 100%, of course, all the money goes to charity, unfortunately, but they are 100%. So she goes to the hospital, Hackensack Hospital, the 4th largest hospital in the country, because so many of these diseases are triggered by elements in the environment.
Yeah.
80% of cancers are inspired by people who are genetically predisposed, are triggered by things in the environment. So she goes to the hospital and says, what are you cleaning the rooms with? They say, well, Windex and ammonia and all that other crap. She says, you got to stop doing it. It's making people sick. I mean, if you'll read a bottle of Windex, they'll tell you that in order to, before you start spraying it and cleaning your windows in your room, you want to ventilate the room. Well, I'm trying to figure out how do you ventilate the room and clean the windows. And the point is that they revolutionized the cleaning process at the 4th largest hospital in the country with these greening and cleaning products, which are available, by the way, at Imus.com, and all the money goes to charity. Well, they're in 200 hospitals now.
They're in my son's school up in Connecticut, and I mean, it's one of the things I got my wife to think about. She's on the organic gardening committee, and I mean, I'm looking at that connection between, athletes, that's their fuel, and you say you wouldn't put, bad gasoline in a Ferrari and expect it to perform. You don't do that with a human body either, whether you're an athlete or not. It's a big deal. Like you were talking about the indoor air quality, it's worse in a room like this than it is outside. You think, oh, well, stay away from being outside, there's smog. It's worse inside, and the more you use those cleaners. Maybe not in here, but the average place.
Yeah. When did you retire?
About 2004, so 6 years ago.
How are they doing? It's still hockey season, right?
Yeah, well, it is. It's actually clearly
you're
it's
following
on
stuff.
the
Not a
fan that
big
you
hockey
are.
fan, as you may.
Well, the Rangers unfortunately just lost yesterday, so they are not in the playoffs by 1 goal in a shootout. But the real hockey season's starting now. The playoffs are beginning, and it's actually an exciting product now. Hockey's what it is. It's a smaller sport than the other big 3, and but it's for those people that follow it, they're pretty.
There
intense.
can be nothing more exciting than playoff hockey, or when it comes down to like a 7th game.
The 7th game.
But
exactly.
the other 6, they can't. Come on.
Well, there's enough parity in the league now where these games matter. So the Rangers, in effect, had a Game 7 yesterday. They were playing for the playoff lives. But I don't know if you saw the Olympics this year. The quality.
I did.
Yeah,
That was great.
Yeah,
That was fun to watch.
When the games, and if you watch them live, they're so much better on television than being on television. I mean, there's a lot of speed and just passion in the game. So
Were you there for the gold medal game?
I was not there for. You were, right?
I went.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
the single best decision
Oh,
I made.
well, la-di-da, Frank. You got to go to the goal. You probably,
can I introduce Frank?
Did you pay
Frank's
for
here.
the ticket?
Yeah,
No.
Yeah,
Did you pay for the ticket?
Oh boy, did
Of
I
course
pay
not.
for the ticket.
Did you?
Yeah, I paid $1,500 for a
No, you
$500
didn't.
ticket.
Did you really?
I
Yes,
sold it
bought,
to him.
I bought 3 tickets, so I paid $4,500, and I paid for the hotel, but the private jet back to my place in Vegas, that was free.
Oh, okay. That was from the escort service in Vegas. We have a couple of seconds here. A question for you. Going to be a big fight over Stevens? Replacement?
it's going to be a challenge for the Republicans because they do want to take on Obama, but they'd rather take him on spending, on taxes, on the size of government, on health care, and not fight over personality.